Alright, so here I already have one of my tiles, the one that's going to be for Sgraffito. I already put like some layers of underglaze. The thing is, you want to make sure that after you paint it with a layer of underglaze that it dries. If it looks wet, then that means it's obviously not dry, so it needs to pretty much be dry to the touch before you put the next layer. Here you can see that I already, pretty much put all the layers I could. I pretty much used up whatever I had left on these two little containers. But what I'm doing now is I'm gonna give it a border. So I did a 1/2 inch border, and I'm gonna color that border with a different color, just to make it more interesting. So I'm gonna use some masking tape. We'll see if it actually sticks really well, just so that I can make a nice clean border. We'll see if it helps, even just slightly. Okay, looks like it will. I'm gonna make my border black. And if you have some leftover underglazes, go ahead and use them. Again, just because I think it'll be more interesting. So, masking tape. Try to do one swift pass. It gives me a nice layer of underglaze. See, at the moment it looks wet, so I'm gonna do the other side. This one's gonna be for my Sgraffito. Okay, there's that layer. Okay, so now that I've painted those layers, I think they're still drying. I'm gonna wait a few minutes so it could dry before I put masking tape over the other side. Because if I put masking tape over the wet areas, then I'm gonna ruin it. So I'll wait a few minutes where it's dry to the touch, and then I'll finish off my border. Okay, I think it should be good now. After a few minutes, it's pretty much dry to the touch. Use some masking tape again. Okay, I have master here. I'm gonna try to do just one swift pass. That looks about done. Alright, so there you go. There's my border. And the border is optional. You don't have to do that. I just did it just so they could be more interesting. Maybe like I'll make the border with a different design when I start carving it, and then I'll carve the inside with obviously another design. So again, that's optional, but again, it just makes it more interesting. You have a border of a different color. So the other slab is just waiting there, so it could get a little bit stiffer, and then I'll transfer my design over so I could then start carving it. So both of these are almost ready for the next steps. So next time I'll have my designs on them, and then on Sgraffito I'll carve through the color, and then on the other tile I'll start carving the designs to make it raised. We'll see you guys for the next video. Alright, so here I have my two tiles. That one's gonna be with Sgraffito. So here I already have something started, so I transfer out the image, print it, I put it on, and then pretty much poke through the outlines to transfer it, and then using a tool I started to carve out the outlines. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be removing more of the underglaze. So here I have a couple little carving tools to do that. Let's see, I can show you how I would remove it. Now this thing is the hardness level of this tile. It's like a really stiff leather hard stage, so that I'm able to carve through. I want it to be pretty leather hard because the bits will come off a lot easier when it's a little bit drier. So for that reason I want it to be pretty leather hard. So here I'm just gonna show you now. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. So with this tool I'm just gonna be scraping off some of the underglaze, and with the dry sponge flick away all that I removed. For that reason I want this to be a little bit on the drier side, so it's easier for those bits to just be removed. So see, it's like where I had the underglaze, I'm carving through that to reveal the clay color underneath. And again, since this is dry, it's very easy for me to just flick away all the little bits that I scraped off. See, so pretty much I'm gonna be doing that to remove, based on the image I'm working on, I'm gonna remove all the negative space, all the gray area that you see on the drawing here. I'm gonna remove all of that from here, and then I'm gonna detail some of these parts of the drawing. So that's the Sgraffito process, and you're just carving through the underglaze to reveal the color underneath, which will be a lighter color. And yeah, this is the process of that. The next one is going to be relief carving. So let me switch over. I'm doing the same design on both tiles just so that you could see the difference on both, like the sgraffito and then the relief carving. So I'm doing both designs the same, but just, you know, different process. So for relief carving, you're pretty much removing, you know, clay to make the drawing stand out and look three-dimensional. And yeah, it'll take some time, you know, to just kind of remove some of the clay, and the clay is actually a little bit softer than the other piece, so I want to be able to carve through pretty easily. But yeah, basically the idea is to remove clay, but also you could add clay. So as far as the process of relief, the relief could be done by carving or by adding clay, which I will actually be doing with this piece. I'm gonna be adding clay to it as well. Pretty much kind of like the berries, or I don't know if they're berries, but it will look like berries. I'm gonna add clay to make those stand out and look more three-dimensional. So I have like a few different depths. So with relief, you could have either like just sort of like one layer, or you could have multiple layers, like multiple height layers, multiple heights. Use the tools that you have, see what best works for this process. If you don't have one of these finer tools, you can make one with a paper clip. And also maybe on your tool set you'll have like some other type of carving tools. But just to show you, let's see if you could see, the idea of relief is, again, you're removing clay in order to make the drawing stand out and look three-dimensional. And again, the process could either be done through carving, or it could also be done through adding clay. So like I said, I'm gonna be sculpting clay into these to make them more rounded. Again, I'll have like different levels of relief. We'll have like some low relief, medium relief, and even some high relief. So yeah, this one will take longer, so probably work on finishing off the sgraffito one first, and then I'll move on to this one, which will take some time. But yeah, as far as, that's the other reason I made this one a little bit thicker. That way, you know, if I'm removing clay, if I'm carving away, you know, I don't want to carve it too thin, or I know like I could carve some away, but then you gotta kind of keep in mind how much you're carving away, because you don't want to make it too thin. So yeah, next time you'll see when these are pretty much finished, and then I'll just kind of show you guys the difference between both carvings. One of them there will be relief, and then there will be a sgraffito. Alright, we'll see you guys later. Okay, so here are both of my tiles, the one with sgraffito and the one that's a relief carving. You could see how they both pretty much share the same design, but you know, obviously there's a different technique for the decoration. So this was sgraffito, where you put the underglaze on top and then scratch through it to make a drawing, and then the color that's been scratched out pretty much shows the clay color underneath. And then this one was relief carving, where after drawing it, you pretty much carve out some of the clay, carve it in order to make the drawing look three-dimensional. So it's a 3D relief carving. I'm actually gonna add more to it to make it even more 3D, so it's has kind of like a couple levels of relief. So I'm gonna add some clay on top of these in order to make them stand out more. So I'll do that right now. Basically, I'm just gonna score some clay. I'm gonna add like the little bits to make it more three-dimensional. So like I said, you could sculpt into it in order to make it stand out even more. Right now, all I'm doing is to make it look similar to the drawing. I'm making these guys look like raspberries. So I'm just making a little balls of clay, just attaching them. Again, that's just gonna add to the three-dimensionality of the carving, so it's not just like one level. So you see now how that just again give it another level. So I'm gonna be doing that to the rest of these, and then that'll be my finished house. So yeah, relief and sgraffito. Hope you guys have fun with it. Keep in mind like the level of hardness on the clay. For carving, you want it to be a leather hard stage, so it's easy to carve through. For the sgraffito one, it's better if it's a little bit like a stiff leather hard, so that when you carve through the underglaze, the bits of clay come off a little bit easier. They could come off real easy if you have like a brush. You could just brush them away as you carve. Same thing with this one. As you carve, the bits come off and they don't get stuck to the clay. So just keep that in mind as you are working on your tiles. Alright guys, have fun with this one and good luck. Look forward to seeing your guys' creations. Bye guys.